Welcome to the final episode of How to Start a Private Practice in Canada, the basic training level. This week we're going to talk about all of the different business structures in Canada. You are a sole proprietor. Isn't that so exciting? You are already in business and you are a sole proprietor. Congratulations. So this video purpose is all about understanding the different business structure options in Canada and which one you should probably be going with. So first off, we're going to talk about a sole proprietorship. So this is you, most likely. I'm just assuming. So you work for yourself, you don't have any employees, you just went into business, it's just you and your books and your clients, you are a sole proprietor. So this means that you are fully responsible for your business. It means that your business is you and you are your business. This will make a little bit more sense when we get into more things like the corporation structures. You are legally your business. When I first went into practice, this was really terrifying for me and I wanted nothing to do with it. I did not want to be legally my business. I wanted that separation, but really it is not as intimidating as it sounds. And it's not nearly as scary. So if something was to happen, and let's say somebody decided that they wanted to sue you or take you to court or that kind of thing, if you were legally separate from your business, it would still be you going to court anyways. And so that's why you have malpractice insurance. There's nothing to be scared of. You are your business and that is not scary. Tell yourself that. It took me a long time to get over that and to understand that that's not a huge deal, as huge of a deal as I thought it was. So with a sole proprietorship though, if you decide to expand your clinic, if you decide to hire employees, that's where it kind of gets interesting. So if you hire employees and your employees screw up, you are legally responsible for their actions because you are legally responsible for the business. Okay, so that's where you're going to want to consider some of the other structures because that's where it starts to get uncomfortable, is if you have employees and you are legally responsible for their actions. Okay, so if it's just you, you're a solo act, you work out of your car or you work out of a rented clinic, that kind of thing, it's not a big deal because you're responsible for yourself anyways. It's once you get employees that it gets a little bit more interesting. So yeah, when I first started, I was so intimidated by that whole legal responsibility and I really wanted that autonomy from my business that I actually declared a corporation for little old me, and it was a terrible idea because I think in my very first year of business I made $6,000 part-time, and then so it costs money to register a corporation. It costs money to register every single year. The second that you have a corporation, your accountant might look at you and say, oh, I'm going to charge you $1,200 to do your taxes, even though it's only $200 to do your personal taxes with your business included. See how that's a bad situation? So all of a sudden, $200 of getting my taxes done in the year for my sole proprietor business turned into $1,200 plus a corporate registration. Don't do that. It's a bad plan. Don't freak out. Stay calm. It's totally fine to be a sole proprietorship. Being legally responsible for your business is not that huge of a deal. Partnership. This is another business structure in Canada. It means you and your bestie from school decide to go into business together and you start your own clinic together, and that is awesome because you can rely on each other, you can lean on each other, and you have somebody who you can bounce off ideas with, and you have more money together to invest into a business. And so especially if you're getting a clinic and you have to pay rent every month, it's good to have two people because then you can share the expenses of the business. But this is where it gets kind of interesting too. So those are the pros of having a partner. It's awesome to be with someone. But there are cons. One of my friends told me this when I first started out too. It's gonna sound a little blue. Partners are like herpes. You never get rid of them, ever, okay? So it can be great to go into business with your best friend, but this could be like living with your best friend and it goes really bad and you can't get out of it. It's a really bad situation. So imagine A partnership is like a marriage, and to get out of it is like a divorce, and that is like serious and it's messy, and there's like echoes of it throughout the rest of your life if it goes really bad. And so you just want to be careful with that. A lot of people go into a partnership because they don't have faith in themselves. Okay, they don't believe that they can do it on their own, and so they lean on another person to make it feel a little bit more safe for them. So once you get into business, once you get a little bit more comfortable, all of a sudden, you know, you want to take the business in this direction, your partner wants to go that way, then you have a bit of a conflict. Whereas if you just stayed on your own, had faith in yourself, because you can do this on your own, then you could have taken that business in that direction, and you have to make compromises otherwise, okay? If you want to go into a partnership, you have to set up a legal agreement between two people, okay? You need to have a legal agreement of how is it going to work, who gets what money, how much money goes to where, what percentages, that kind of stuff. You need to sit down with a lawyer and figure it out. I'm sure that you can do it online and like get a document to do it on your own, and that's fine, but it'd probably be safer to do it with a lawyer to make sure that everything is clear. Just like getting married, you want to do it with the right person, and it has to be legal. But in this business structure, you are still legally responsible for your business, okay? So you're not legally autonomous, it's just two of you are responsible for your business rather than just one of you. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a cooperative. So a cooperative is when a group of people decide to pool their resources into usually a community initiative. Cooperatives are usually non-for-profits that we're going to talk about later. So a cooperative is actually pretty rare because it is run by a board of its members, okay? And so they're kind of slow moving. They're really hard to make change because any change has to be put through to a vote of every single member. And so if you have a group of people that are gonna start a cooperative, you have to be together, all of you together very often to be able to take the business forward and to like make changes and improvements. It's a really rare business structure. It is limited liability though, which means that the business is separate from its board of members. Just like a little bit more about that limited liability stuff. So what that means is if the business tanks, all of the business stuff will go to the bank first, and you have a little bit of separation between the business and your personal finances. There's still situations though, like you're not completely free, but there's still situations where the bank can come through the company to its like board of directors and take the rest of the debt from them. But like if you have a legally autonomous company, like your company can get business loans and that kind of stuff that it has that aren't yours. And then like the building and the assets and that kind of stuff. It's like it's another person, like a whole other human being with its own like stuff, okay? So that's a little bit why there's a little bit of difference between you and your company and like the liability stuff. It's kind of like you have a kid though, so like it's still yours, it's still tied to you. You can't really escape it. So on to the next one, non-profit. So again, non-profit is another limited liability company structure in Canada. It's like the cooperatives that we talked about, but a non-for-profit doesn't always have to be a cooperative. It can be just like a solo owner or just like a few owners that are running a business. So and it's not just in Canada, but I was going to say in Canada, non-for-profits kind of have a bad rap. On the net the other day I found this other company that I really liked, and I was looking into their like about me and that kind of stuff, and they were stating that they are a for-profit company because being a non-for-profit means that they can't have nice things. Okay, they said some other words, but I don't want to give away who I was reading about, but that's pretty much like the gist of it. They were not a non-for-profit, even though they're trying to change the world and make the world a better place and like very like non-for-profit kind of stuff. And they were saying that they weren't that because non-for-profits aren't allowed to have nice things. And it's not true. Non-for-profits just means that if your business makes profit, Okay, so what the heck is profit? So you have income and you pay your employees, okay? So let's say John and Sally both make, what did I write down here? Like, let's say John and Sally make $900,000 a year, okay? So some ridiculous amount. A non-for-profit is allowed to pay them that much, okay? A lot of the public structure gets upset about that because they think that non-for-profits should be people who are very like social thinking, and they should be like Mother Teresa or stuff like that, and they should only make $10,000 a year and never wear new clothes, and because they should just be giving everything to the point that they're in poverty, and that is not true, okay? So you can pay John and Sally $900,000 a year, and that is legal. You can legally do that in a non-for-profit, okay? So let's say that they generate another $20,000 extra. So that $20,000 is called profit. And so that means that the profit in a non-for-profit company gets put back into the company. It's not allowed to go into the owner's pockets. It has to go back into the company. It has to go back into the community initiative or whatever the company is doing, okay? So it just means that the owner doesn't get to pocket the extras. Because truly, if you need to pay somebody $900,000 to get the best somebody that exists, then you should probably do it. And so non-for-profits does not mean that you're not allowed to have nice things, okay? So that goes into our next one, which is the corporation. So this is the king of legal autonomy, okay? So if you're a sole proprietorship or a partnership, corporation, co-ops, non-for-profits, they're all on this side, okay? So they're legally autonomous. You declare that the business is separate from you and it's its own legal entity, okay? So there is fees to be able to register a corporation every single year. A corporation is separate from you, and there is positives to this. So a corporation pays less tax than a regular individual, okay? And so if you are paying all of your business money to yourself so that you can live your life, you don't want to be a corporation yet. But if you have tons of excess money, if you leave that money into the corporation and you don't pay it out, then you will actually save money on taxes, okay? So you have to pay your income taxes no matter what, right? And so in a sole proprietorship, you pay income taxes on all of your income. In a corporation, you pay corporate taxes, and then whatever gets paid to you, you pay income taxes on, right? So actually, people who own corporations pay double tax, kind of. And so the corporation, let's say, pays 10% and the individual, let's say, pays 30%. And so if you're not making enough money that you're actually storing funds in your corporation, there's no point in having a corporation, because then you're paying like 40% on that cash rather than just 30% as if you just had a sole proprietorship. I'm hoping that this is making sense. But if you have excess money that you leave in the corporation, it only gets 10% tax in our scenario here, okay? And so it only has to pay 10% tax, and then it stays there. And as long as you don't transfer it into your personal bank account, you don't have to pay income taxes on that money that you and your company made. And so that includes money that other employees made for you. You pay them, they pay their taxes, and the rest of the money just stays in the corporation, and the corporation pays its taxes. And so that's what it means when it's like legally autonomous. It's separate from you, it's its own individual. And so any money that leaves the corporation, it gets taxed on the individual that accepted the money, and any money that stays in the corporation is just taxed into the corporation. I hope that makes sense. Corporations can be owned by more than one individual. When you set up the corporation, you have to set up things called like shares and ownership, like who owns what and how much, that kind of thing. There's lots of rules around corporations, and you're gonna have to look into them and talk to a lawyer, talk to an accountant, and learn this kind of stuff on your own. It's a bit of a learning curve, but an owner, So let's say there's just one owner for your corporation. You have 100% of the corporation, you have 100% of the vote. Let's say somebody gave you a whole bunch of money to start your clinic building. That person might own a chunk of your company in exchange. And so let's say you agreed to give them a quarter of your company for the money required to build your clinic. That means that they own a quarter of the vote. So technically you can outvote them still and there's no threat, but Dragon's Den and all that kind of shows that's why people freak out about giving up more than 51% of the power, because it means they can be outvoted. And again, kind of like with partnerships, you can go in a different direction than what you actually wanted to go in. It's actually pretty easy to set up a corporation. I did mine through a company called Saskatchewan Information Services Corporation. Did it online, did it by myself, which is kind of how I got into that pickle in the first place, is that you can do it totally on your own without the supervision of an adult. Kind of a bad plan. Don't do that. Another reason that people like to go into a corporation, if you have big dreams for your business and you're going to go like across Canada or you're going to be all across Saskatchewan, a thing with a corporation is that you can register a business name. And so you purchase a name and it's yours and nobody else can use it across Saskatchewan or Manitoba or Alberta, depending on where you are. And so it's your name for your business. And then the thing is too, is that would be if you were provincially incorporated. So most people in our businesses would be provincially incorporated because we are provincially registered to practice in one province, right? Unless you are independently wealthy and you have licenses for other provinces, there would be no point in incorporating in another province. But it is possible to incorporate your business across Canada, and that's a federal incorporation. And so that's if your business was operating across Canada. And so if you had a whole line of clinics with clinicians that were registered in all the different provinces that worked in your different clinics, that's what you would do. And that's what you can do with a corporation. And a corporation is a for-profit entity, and so any profit that's made, you as the owner get to keep. And again, like we talked about earlier, you can choose to keep that funding in the corporation or you can move it into your pocket because you are the owner, and that's what you get with profits. Homework for this week is pretty easy. Just look into the different business structures in Canada and kind of get a better understanding of what they all mean. The big ones that you're going to want to look at that are applicable to us is your sole proprietorship structures and your corporate structures. That's kind of what you want to look at. Am I a corporation or am I a sole proprietorship? Most of us, I would say, especially if you're just starting out, you're a sole proprietor and you've already achieved that. Awesome, check, bonus. And so this is the end of our training series, our basic level how to start a private practice in Canada training series. I hope to see you at our intermediate level. It's going to be on the site. Make sure you let us know if you have any questions or concerns about this week's video, if you need any more information. And otherwise, have a great experience with your private practice. I hope you do well and get lots of clients. There'll be links to the other videos in the training series, and I hope you all have a great week.